Hello, hello, hello. It's me, Dr. Torie, here with another episode of Be Victorious. Now I'm excited about this episode. This man has been really on Instagram doing his thing. He is the CEO of the McBride Institute, and I actually have learned a lot from him. He's on here and he's here to educate, and I love the fact that he's going to share his story with us. Chris, where are you?
Hello, hello, hello. I appreciate you having me.
No, I appreciate you. We met on a live. We have been rocking ever since. I love that. What you taught me actually helped me, and what I taught you, you actually use on your page. You have the ACEs study. People have been learning. I appreciate that because there's enough room in the mental space for all of us to continue to educate and do what we do. And I think you are so impactful and powerful, and for you to be here sharing your story, thank you so much.
Well, I appreciate you. Like attracts like, and water seeks its own level.
Hey, and see, so let's begin. You have the ACEs study and you've taken the ACEs quiz. What's your score?
I can't remember what mine was, but I feel like it was a high number. I think I was maybe a 6 or something.
And that's okay. We talked about how it's just a number. It doesn't define you. This just means that you've been in different sections of the ACEs quiz, and that's okay. I love the fact that the score has been revised. People had that opportunity to better understand it now that the CDC has updated everything. So, what do you think about that? Because there are a lot of updates that have happened since June. What do you think about that?
Honestly, I'm unaware of the different updates, but I love that people are starting to learn about adverse childhood experiences and how they're actually impacting us as adults because, our childhood solutions become our adult problems. And depending on the childhood environment that we grew up in, it could really make sense out of a lot of the issues that we're having, whether they're personal issues or relational issues or career issues or all different types of things. So I love that people are starting to learn about their childhood and how it's impacting them in adulthood.
Now, as far as your childhood, do you think that your childhood experiences had an impact on you?
A great impact on me. Many different childhood experiences. I was molested at the age of 8 by a female friend of the family, but because I was molested by a female, I didn't think that nothing happened to me until I was 18 years old. I was in advanced placement psychology, and the teacher had put on the movie Antoine Fisher, and I had never seen of that. I had never heard of it, but all these memories started coming to my head, and I guess the teacher noticed my reactions, and I was crying, and she pulled me outside and was like, "Are you all right?" And
Yeah.
I'm like, I don't know, but the scene when Antoine goes to address the woman that touched him and all that, like that scene just brought up a whole bunch of, and it was at that moment that I realized that something had happened to me,
Yeah.
and that childhood experience, in my experience, anybody who has a inappropriate sexual experience in childhood, they tend to be very hyperactive sexually as adults, or they are completely just thrown off by sex and don't want nothing to do with it. I was more on the hyper end of it. So that's one way I was impacted by my childhood. Another way was I was also bullied as well. So I noticed that I was always trying to be liked or seek approval and wanted to be accepted and seek outside validation. Also, my father wasn't really around. I only see my father a couple of weeks throughout every year growing up. So I had a deep fear of abandonment, which caused me to have a whole bunch of unhealthy attachment issues growing up. Also was like bullied and ridiculed and tortured by some of my aunties growing up. So that resulted in me not trusting women. And so I had a lot of trust issues when it come to women. So yes, I was deeply impacted in adulthood by my childhood experiences.
And so, do you understand and realize that people don't know this at all? They don't. Like you just
You
explaining everything that you just did is so relatable to someone else. Somebody else is going to say, that was me. So what's adverse childhood experiences again? Because seriously, a lot of people really don't know about it at all. I think it's the missing piece for people to understand. And once people understand what it is and the reason why things happened, it's how it can help you heal. That's just my personal opinion. What do you
Facts.
think?
I agree.
Okay.
I agree. I agree as well. And then having that understanding can, because even with my clients, they come to me and they're always just like coming to me about current day problems. And inevitably, we always go back to what happened to them in childhood. And then they're just like blown away at the connection. So, yes, most people are completely unaware. But for people that are aware of ACEs, then you can make the connection immediately.
Right. Did you know about when did you first find out about ACEs?
I think the first time I ever took an ACEs experience was maybe in college sometime because I did major in psychology when I was in school.
Okay.
But I didn't really get into it until I started learning about like neurolinguistic programming, and then started studying like EMDR,
Yeah.
different things like that, where we kind of track back to early experiences. So it was probably maybe I was like 25 years old when I really started to dive into it.
Okay. And the McBride Institute is an institution. Tell us what you are doing with the McBride Institute because those experiences led to you being the wonderful man that you are now. Tell us about the McBride Institute.
So McBride Institute is really aligned with my purpose. I feel like my purpose in life is to educate, heal, and empower, and so that's what we do at the McBride Institute. Whether we are just hosting classes to make people aware of certain things, or whether we're bringing in clients to actually help them do the healing and the empowering, and especially on our social media page, we interview all different types of minds, you being one of them. And we just trying to shed light on people who are in our space that are doing great work that can help people heal. We focus on all different types of modalities of healing. We have people that focus on breath work. We have people who are psychotherapists. We have people who do psycho neuroimmunology. We have people who do all different types of things. As long as it results in healing and helping people get comfortable in their own skin and be able to have healthy reactions as opposed to the unhealthy reactions that can come from these first childhood experiences, then we try to shed light to them.
Right. And you have been doing that because when I tell you your passion exudes in your testimony, you get on there and you get in your groove and you get to talking and those people get to confessing and talking. It's a wonderful sight to see your passion. No, seriously, because at the end of the day, that's what's going to help people learn. So I'm a fan. You know that
Yeah,
already. I love the McBride Institute. I
definitely. And
love,
I do feel like I'm walking in my calling. So I
yeah.
appreciate that. I do feel like that with every fiber of my being that I am doing what God created me to do. So even though those were adverse childhood experiences, I feel like I'm grateful for them because it allows me to be able to connect with all different types of people. And because I'm not speaking from theory, but I'm actually speaking from experience,
Right.
that it allows me to just be able to connect with so many different people. If you were raped, if you were molested, if you were bullied, if you were neglected, if you were tortured, any type of thing. And I'm not afraid of feeling any negative emotion because I've learned to walk through those particular things. So I do feel like I'm walking in my calling. So I appreciate that validation.
Well, now I got to get to the gusto because you made a statement. You weren't raised by your father, correct?
Not at all. No, not often. I've seen him 1 week every summer. I would go visit him for like a week, and then every Christmas, we would be at his mom's house. So I would definitely see him Christmas. I would see him some Thanksgivings, and I would see him that week throughout the summer, and then maybe peppered a day or two outside of that throughout the year. So definitely without my father for sure.
So let me just share that is so average childhood experiences are three different categories. It's actually four now with the revisions. So you've talked about the physical abuse, the sexual abuse. You talked about that. Household dysfunction is what you've also talked about. That's my number. I love talking about household dysfunction because that's what impacted me the most. I didn't go through the physical and the sexual abuse. I didn't I was heavy on household dysfunction. The aunties and all of that is still going on. Seasonal affective disorder is real. I bring up that because I wanted to ask a personal question. Are you a father?
I am a father. I got a 22 month old son, CJ the Great, Chris Jr.
Really? You are a
Yes,
fresh dad.
definitely.
Congratulations. How do you feel about bringing a kid in this society now?
It's terrifying. Plus, for many reasons. One reason is because I didn't have my father in the home. I greatly despised single parent households, and my son's mom, when he was 9 months old, decided that she didn't want to do it anymore and she wanted to split or whatever. So I get my son half of every week now, though. So I don't care what's going on. I'm gonna be in my son's life. And but now she's living with somebody else, and so my son can't talk yet, and I can't really control what she's doing in her environment, even though I advocated against it. She's doing what she wants, so I don't really like. I woke up this morning and my son was on my heart so heavy this morning, and he's at his mom's house. I get him tomorrow, but I don't know what's going on. I don't know if he's safe. I don't know if he's at peace. I don't know if he's scared. I don't know. And those things can be nerve wracking and all that. But on the other end of it, I feel like it's a beautiful thing to be able to just help a kid unfold. I was listening to Will Smith many years ago. Now, granted, what I'm saying, I don't listen to him on a lot now because he's a wild brother. But one
So,
thing that he said that helped me out there tremendously when he was talking about parenting was that God created each kid with their own seed already. We don't get to determine what the seed is. Our job is just to help to nurture the seed, water the seed, protect the seed, and help it become what God already intended it to be.
right.
So I'm not necessarily molding my son, but I am trying to unfold whatever God intended him to be. So in that aspect, I believe it's beautiful, but it is scary in the sense that I can't have full control over it. So I got to have a lot of faith that he's going to be protected. He's going to be okay, that he will have minimal adverse childhood experiences. But as far as around me, I'm extremely guarding of my son's nervous system. I
Mhm.
always try to make sure that he is regulated. I do not physically touch my son as far as like abuse.
Mhm.
I watch my tone around my son because past a certain threshold, he starts crying.
Mhm.
So it makes me develop even quicker
Right.
because I don't want to be a parent that he has to heal from.
Right. And that's the reason why I asked, because you're a cycle breaker already, but the situation unfortunately is out of your control. But there are things that you can do as a father, as someone that is aware of adverse childhood experiences, because he didn't know, he still doesn't know. But you have that opportunity to break the cycle. And that's what we're doing. I think education is key. I'm sorry. I tell everybody I am not a therapist. I don't want to be. Trust me, I could have. I don't want to be. I want to educate. That's why I'm here. This is what we're doing because your son is going to say one day, "Hey, Dad, why not you, Mom and Dad? Are you going to share, or are you going to say leave that up to your mom? Would you share that with him so he
No,
can?"
I'm definitely gonna share. I'm not gonna sugarcoat anything because I feel like that'll be undue justice to my son. And I'm the type where I didn't give up easy. I fought hard for it. I'm paying for therapy for individual therapy for me and her. I'm paying for couples counseling. We
Right,
going to Eric Thomas's wedding retreats and all the little things that they was doing with the couples and all that stuff. And I'm like, yo, I just bought this thing. It's Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. It's 8 hours a day. We about to watch this. It's these married couples. They about to talk about how they stayed together and we reading books together. I was doing everything in my power to try to make the relationship work. And I also was never talking to anybody who wasn't a mentor about any challenges in my particular relationship. She,
right.
on the other hand, was talking to, her mom, her sisters, and all of them was just like, girl, end it. And everybody I'm talking to was like, try to make it work, try to figure it out, try to. So I don't I won't feel bad in regards to when my son asked that particular question because I truly did everything in my power. And she wanted to do something else. I don't fault her for it. That's her choice. And honestly, I just feel like now that that's God just telling me that that wasn't the one for me. So yes, but I also like how she just immediately moved in with somebody else and they're doing whatever. My son has never met anybody. I don't bring people around my son because I'm not trying to have my son have attachment issues and broken bonds and all these other things.
Hmm.
So yes, I don't feel like I would be ashamed or anything as far as what I have done and the decisions that I particularly made. So yes, I will be truthful and transparent with my son.
And I thank you for that. I is there a chance that she doesn't know about ACEs?
No, she took a quiz too. The last time we did one, after I did it, I sent it to her. Hers was high too. She grew up in a very a very abusive environment and all that stuff like that. She was also sexually assaulted. She had things going on as well, an abusive father, stuff. And honestly, it was that was kind of, I believe, that was kind of projected onto our situation. And
Yep.
so even though we may have an argument, it was the unresolved childhood of hers that was pushed onto our situation. And I used to be like, it's real women that's being abused. I'm not abusing you, right? I haven't never touched you, right? I haven't, but it would just always be just kind of talking to me like I'm her father in a sense. And I'm like,
Yeah.
I didn't do, I didn't do any of that stuff,
Has
right?
a profound
Uh,
effect, and people really don't know how much it's on the CDC's website. So to me, I feel like y'all, COVID is on there. Y'all quick to run to the CDC for COVID information or the latest on the monkeypox. But I think people steered away from the ACEs because it hasn't been updated since 1998. Well, here it is. I think it's a wake up call for us all that they've updated everything. Like they've updated it. Mass shootings are ACEs. Community violence are ACEs. Bullying, cyber bullying, all of that is considered adverse childhood experiences because they're trying to figure out why mental health is at an all-time high. It is high. COVID had a lot to do with it, of course. So they feel responsible and they have to update the ACEs information because it really is. The numbers have went up so much to where I've talked to people in ERs, seriously, that are saying that kids are spending the night in the ER because of their mental health and them trying to regulate their anxiety and regulate depression and things of that nature.
Especially
My
because our environment too. Like I remember, I got a memory of the girl who had molested me. Now this isn't a memory of her molesting me, but it's still her. And
right.
I remember it was like it was just like a lot of chaos going on in my auntie's house, and I remember just like shaking a little bit. And I remember she looked at me and she was like, "You scared of this?" Like, but that just lets me know the environment that she actually grew up in. And to your point, as far as our community, it was never looked at as that stuff we was dealing with was stressful. Watching people die, watching just all this violence and all this aggression, and we could never have therapists or anything growing up, so we were just living with all these different traumatic experiences and these adverse experiences. And I'm just glad that now they are just taking it into account because we just had to live through it. And that's what made me actually forgive her. We had a conversation when my first book came out and we were able to talk, and she felt so bad because she just found out her son got molested as well.
Uh,
And when I actually found out what happened to her, it made me just really forgive her because she was like she was getting passed around like crazy by her uncles. So that's
uh,
why when she seen me, she just wanted to just get on that with me, but that was because of that's all
them.
that she knew.
Yeah. You weren't them. You were somebody different than them. They were doing it, so she had to do it to somebody else. Wow. But I think it just hurt my heart when you was like, she was passed on. This is ACEs, you guys. She was passed on. And she took that out on you. So thank you for forgiving her. But the reality of the situation is, oh my God.
And even my auntie, the one who's, because this is another thing, and I think I'm the only cousin that found this out, but I'm the cousin that investigates everything and figure all this stuff out. But 100% of all our cousins were molested at that same auntie's house, all in different experiences, and nobody ever knew about it. But then when I started to do the investigation as far as my auntie, I found out that she was molested by a friend of the family when she was younger. She told her father it was his cousin, so she didn't. I guess nothing was never done of it, but that's the reason why she blew up and she became close to like 300 pounds and all that. And we know now it's because she didn't want to be touched. She didn't want to be looked at. She didn't want to be seen. So it's all because of unresolved childhood trauma.
And that is ACEs. You just gave us a good lesson because really that's exactly what it is. The people that found ACEs started from a weight loss clinic, and the people would lose their weight, but then they would come back, and they kept trying to figure out why the people kept coming back. The weight loss, I mean, was a weight increase, and that's when they discovered ACEs. So for that to happen and the weight increase, all of this is unresolved adverse childhood experiences. This is the reason why
Right.
I'm not going to stop no time soon, because everything that you just shared are great examples of unresolved adverse childhood experiences. Seriously.
And what's not transformed is transferred, which is why she didn't fix her demons and she didn't fix the unresolved childhood trauma. So it got passed down, and all of her kids had to experience it, and all of my cousins had to experience it. But that's why I'm so big on doing the work, because I don't want to transform or transfer my trauma unto my son. So yes, we definitely got to have loud voices, and we got to make sure that everybody is definitely doing the work, because even if you don't got the heart to do it for yourself, have the heart to do it for the people that you love. Because if you don't, you are transferring your trauma onto them in some way or form.
And you are correct. And this is the reason why he's so amazing. Let's be clear. That's my favorite word. I think everybody is amazing, especially when their passion is similar to mine. The McBride Institute, you talked about a book. Share that information because, of course, I'm sure people will be extremely interested after listening to you. Tell us about your books because you
Yeah,
have more than one.
yes, I got a couple of them, but the first one was Healing in Hindsight. That was just kind of just my story on just healing all the trauma that I had been through, and then my journey to kind of alleviate myself from those particular experiences. And then the most recent book I came out with was The Power of Forgiveness. Is just being able to just actually let go, because being angry is like drinking poison and expecting somebody else to die. It's going to do more to the vessel it's stored in than anything that it could be poured in. So, everybody's like, "Well, I gotta forgive." That's giving a person off the hook. It's not about letting a person off the hook. It's about more so just you having internal peace. Because
Right.
if you don't, then we're basically letting external circumstances control us. This person can come around, and next thing you know, my whole mood is thrown off. I could
Right.
see something, it could trigger me to an old memory, and next thing you know, my whole day is thrown off, and I can't focus. We don't want anything to have power over us in that way, and unless we go back and address those adverse childhood experiences, then external circumstances will always have power over us. So that's the importance of forgiveness. So those are my main two books, and I have other books as well, but those are my main two that I focus on.
So you talked about the book, sharing your adverse childhood experiences, and you talked about forgiveness. That's good for you. That's good for anybody because that's something. And I'll be honest, still working on forgiveness. Seriously, I am. I'm doing better. I've recently connected with my ex-husband after a few years, and I'm excited about it because I can see that bridge that kind of gapped with my daughters. They were really excited to see that their parents were finally communicating and things of that nature. So I'm excited
That's
about
beautiful.
that. But people have to understand it takes forgiveness. It takes the things that we were lacking. It's hard for me to forgive due to past unresolved adverse childhood experiences. And because I know that, I'll
Yeah.
step aside, protect my boundaries, and do what I need to do in order to continue to heal. So I get
And
it.
it's levels to forgiveness too, because
It's
I was on a live yesterday with David Gooding. Shout out to him. He helps people with blended families, and he also helps with fathers issues and everything. And he really unlocked something with me where I realized that I got more forgiveness to do with my father, because I'm
Ooh,
like, well, I forgave my father because every time we're around each other, there's never no bad blood. I don't never think of, I don't have any negative feelings around my father. I bring my son over to him at least one day a week when I got my son half of every week. So at least one day a week, I always make sure to go visit my father. They have an amazing relationship,
good.
my son and my father. My son has actually seen his grandfather, which is my father, more times than I've seen my grandfather in my entire life. I remember I met my father's father one time, and this is tied to forgiveness. I met
Uh-huh.
my father's father one time. My dad walked up to me when I was 10 years old at a wedding. He was like, "Hey, son, this is my dad." The dude was like, "Nice to meet you," and walked off. Like, I'd never seen him before, never seen him again after that. But that was my father's father. So, what helped me forgive my father was understanding what was in my father's mental Rolodexes of experiences in regard to father. Because how we become fathers or mothers is we have an archetype in our mind of what it is to be a mother or what it is to be a father based upon what we experience. And
Right,
then we just try to be better than that. So my father's father gave my grandmother 6 kids and then just left her. He never divorced her, but he just left her. So my father's great experiences in life was watching his mother struggle to take care of 6 kids because she was the only child and both of her parents were murdered when she was 6 weeks old.
ah,
So
hard.
she's raising 6 kids with no support, no siblings, no parents, no nothing. So my father's having to wear holy clothes to school. So he's getting laughed at and joned on. They got eviction notices and they're always getting put out of their crib and all that. So in my father's mind, what a father is not having your kids or your son's mom in that position. And I got
Right,
to give my father credit. We've never been evicted ever. I don't even know what that experience is like. I've never had to wear holy clothes to school.
right,
I would come home and I would have just Fat Farm, Pelly Pill, Sean. I wouldn't see my dad, but that would just be there. So
right,
in my father's mind, based upon what he experienced, he's like, shit, I did a great job at being a dad. My dad didn't get exposed to all the great men that I got exposed to. My dad don't know nothing about emotional intelligence. My dad don't know about physical presence. That's
right.
all like luxury to my father. So I
Mhm.
couldn't hold him to the standard anymore. So that's what caused me to forgive him. And but yesterday when I was on a call with this guy, he revealed something to me that made me realize that I got another level of forgiveness that I got to actually address, because I don't never go to my father for help. I could
Right,
be in dire straits and I will never ask my father for anything. My father, since I was 18, he hasn't done it. I remember when I had when my son's mom was pregnant, we were still together at this time. He would come around like, you can I do something? Do you need? I wouldn't ask him for nothing. And so I'm like, oh yeah, well I guess he need a swing or he need this, or so yeah, you can do that. And my dad would try to do it. And so that guy helped me realize that the reason why I don't ask is because of another level of forgiveness that I got to do with my father. So I say all that to say that don't feel bad that you're still working on forgiveness, because we all are. It's just levels to it.
thank you, because, yeah, I'm not soft at all, no offense, but I'm hard as a rock, I'm working on that, you know what I mean? But I know
We
where
are.
it stems from, you know? And I think that's the thing that people have to know and understand as we're going through our healing journeys. Our healing journey isn't something that you're healed. No, things are going to continue to happen. I did not even expect for me just to ask about, you having a son and everything that stemmed from that. It's relatable because this is what's happening in our society today. And so someone is going to listen to this and say, you know what? Okay, I get it. I'm not alone. This is happening to me. These are the things that I have to do. This is what I need to go through, or this is what I need to understand in order to take the next steps. So I seriously thank you for being here and really just being rare, of course, and sharing your story. What they need to do is check you out on, are you only on Instagram or are you in other platforms?
No, I'm on Instagram, I'm on TikTok, I'm on YouTube, all under the McBride Institute. I think on YouTube is the McBride Institute, but TikTok and Instagram it's just strictly McBride Institute. Now YouTube, I don't really give attention to it, so I just post YouTube. I just post my Instagram content on there and everything. So, but you can't find me on there. But really, my main focus is Instagram and TikTok. That's where I'm going live. That's where I'm bringing on guests. That's where most of my content is at. So that's the primary focus.
Okay, I'm going to steer away from all of this. I tried it with another guest and it actually worked out well. What do you do in your spare time? Because you always work.
In my I definitely, but that's how I know I'm in my calling because in my spare time, I love to just educate myself on just sharpening the mind, on healing, on just human development. It's funny, I was going through some of my notebooks and I found my high school goals, and in it it said I want to master the mind, the human mind and human behavior. And it's just like it's so funny how we set intentions when we're younger, and then unconsciously we can follow this particular path. So that's a lot of what I do in my spare time. I watch a lot of podcasts. I read a lot of books. I exercise like crazy because I did have a strong reliance and dependency on weed for a long period of time. And I had just given that up over the last couple of weeks and determined to live a life of sobriety because I didn't really realize how much I was using that as a crutch, especially since the separation of me and my son's mom. And I
Oh,
realized that I was just being very complacent with my circumstance because I built my whole life around taking care of them. So when she left, really, I'm the one that had to leave, and I left with nothing, even though I provided everything. So the weed was just making me just not want to rebuild and just being comfortable with nothing.
right.
So I left that alone, and now I'm just focusing on rebuilding the best versions of myself. So I'm in the gym like crazy. I'm constantly surrounding myself with people like you, having dope conversations, making content all the time. And that's really what I do in my spare time. I got a little guilty pleasure of like watching crime investigation shows. So a little bit I do that. Like this morning, I watched like an episode of New York Undercover. I just found out that they had that on Peacock.
Oh,
So that's like a little guilty
that was
pleasure.
my show. Yeah.
That's why I was like, yo, I ain't seen
That's
this
my
in
show.
forever.
Yeah.
But that's really the only TV that I watch. Other than that, it's like personal development and everything.
So I will share. I think our commonality is the psychology. My undergrad was in psychology too. So I think that's our commonality. I found out from Dr. Thelma, the crime show thing comes from our because the things that happened in our past, it's like the investigative thing to try to figure out. We're researchers, so the crime scene is because we're researchers. We want to find out what happened. So she said that that has a lot to do with our adverse childhood experiences and things of that nature, which I thought it was cool. Shout out to Dr. Thelma.
I
Of
can see
course,
that being true. I can see that.
yeah, I'm guilty of it because I'll watch them. So I confess. I will share with you. Just started Black Cake. It's on Hulu. I think Oprah has her hands on it. If you know, Oprah is heavy on adverse childhood experiences, but I've noticed that there's a lot of movies, not just movies, but shows. People talk about adverse childhood experiences. They talk about them. They address them. It's shown all the time. Watch Black Cake. It was good. I
Okay.
haven't finished it, but it was really
You
good.
said it's on Netflix or Hulu? Which
No,
one
it's on
did you say?
Hulu. It's called Black
Hulu.
Cake.
Black Cake.
There
I'm
are
gonna check it out.
I try to come out every now and again. Like if I don't watch TV a lot either. I'm a reader too, avid reader, researcher. This is what I do. I feel so bad for my children because they are too real bad researchers and they've turned into know-it-alls. And I'm sorry, but oh well, this is it. This is mama. It is what it is. They're my kids. But this is what I do. So I'll do binge watching when I get the opportunity if I'm not reading, if I'm not doing research. So that's our commonality. I like that. I had to switch it up a little bit because people got to know that you are human. You are a beast for real. And you guys have to see him when he is in there and he's talking to these people. They are so heavy into the conversation. I'm gonna tell on you. He was a little late because this is what he does, y'all. I just want you to take time out of your schedule because you're so amazing for real to do something for you. So to hear that you're doing something for you, congratulations. Because I didn't think you did. Every time I look up, I'm like, let me go support my boy. Let me go do this. Get into the conversation. I'm like, oh my God, slow down. But to hear that you do that, that's amazing. Do you like music?
I do, however, I don't allow myself to listen to music. So I did though, for the first time in 6 months, just the other day at the gym. I was like, you ain't listening to music in 6 months. You can play some Nipsey. So I was on the Stairmaster. I did 45 minutes, allow myself to listen to some music. But other than that, I don't. I don't control other people's environments. So when I was just getting my haircut, my boy was playing some music. And I was like, bro, you cool? You know what I'm saying? Like, but if you come in my car, I'm never going to have music playing. If you're at my house, I'm never going to have music playing. If I'm at the gym, I never have music playing. It's always audiobooks, podcasts, something of that particular nature. It's just more so like I look at it like I give an analogy like our consciousness is like a fish tank, like 20, I will like 20 gallons of water in a fish tank. And if you just pour a little bit of Coke in there, it's going to dilute fish tank. And I think that's how our consciousness is when we put nonsense in it. And so for me, I put a lot of nonsense in it when I was younger. So now I'm focused on just trying to purify my consciousness because if I was to pour just a glass of water back in that fish tank, it's not going to make it all pure again. I'm going to have to pour way more water in there to get it back pure just from that little bitty cup of Coke.
Right.
And so my consciousness is the exact same way. So that's why I don't really listen to music like that because I'm just trying to make sure I get my heart and my spirit right. I'm also celibate at this particular time because I want to make sure that whoever is the next one, I had to go. I remember listening to Eric Thomas, and he said, I've been with my wife since he was 15 years old, and that's the only woman he's ever had sex with. And he's like 53 years old. And I'm like, I've never heard a man speak like that. I remember when I was younger, every time I seen my father, he was with a different woman. And then one week when I was staying with him, he was at work. I was going through his stuff, and I found a letter of every woman he had slept with. And unconsciously, when I was 18, I found myself trying to compete with that. So I was just sleeping from woman to woman to woman to woman to woman. So I say all that to say the music was increasing. Also, my sexual desire was also making me a little bit more aggressive. And so I'm trying to purify my spirit. That's another reason why I don't really watch TV shows because, they're going to sexualize a whole bunch of things. And so I'm trying to just make sure I'm as pure as I can be so I can fulfill the purpose that God has had for me because I feel like I spent so much time just wasting it. And now I'm turned up, I'm charged up, and I'm about just fulfilling my purpose. So that's why you see me all the time locked in on the content, doing lives with people and all that stuff like that, because that's what actually feels like that's what gives me meaning in life. And that's what actually just recharges me. So when I want to get recharged, I have a conversation like this. I was a little tired, I ain't gonna stunt. And now you can see I'm charged up. So this is what gives me energy.
You are. So this would be considered your extracurricular activity.
Yes.
Okay. And that was the reason why I was trying to, fish around. Is it you talked about working out, which is fine. You talked about reading, that's fine. But I think this would be considered your extracurricular activity for sure. You're good. You're really good at it.
Definitely.
You know what I mean? You're really, I'm not just saying this. I don't get no points. You know what I mean? Like I don't get anything from this from telling you this, you guys. I don't. I just have ran into the some wonderful people that are relatable to me and we share similar stories. And this is the reason why we're on this podcast. So I thank you. I thank you for being here. Some of the things that you just educated us on is going to be so relatable. Somebody is going to listen to this story, and I'm telling you, they'll understand, they'll know, because that's what we need to do. We need to get this information out here so people can understand and know you can heal, you can learn, and you can live. And I think that's why we connect. I've already based us in what we do and why we're here and our purpose, and you have to continue to do that. So it's my pleasure to have you. Please tell everybody again, because I've done that throughout the podcast, where can they find you?
You can find me on Instagram at McBride Institute, on TikTok at McBride Institute, on YouTube at the McBride Institute. And yeah, my books are on Amazon, or really, Amazon gonna take 60% plus this is a 90-day payout and all that. So really, if you want the book, you can go to my Instagram page. It's a link in my bio. In the link in the bio, you'll also see the ACEs quizzes there if you want to take the ACEs quiz. And then also you'll see a link to my pay hit, which it gave you all the different books that I have as well too. So if you want to tap in, and then also just if you want to connect with any of the lives that we actually do, or if you want to just kind of like just have a conversation and all that, definitely shoot me a DM. We can set up a free consultation and I'm able to just kind of just see if I'm in a position to help you if you are struggling and if you want to overcome and resolve some of your unresolved childhood trauma.
And you're amazing. I thank you so much for being here, you guys. This episode, of course, is going to be one of those ones for the history book. My name is Dr. VicTORIEus. Of course, you guys can find me everywhere. Dr. VicTORIEus, be victorious. I have some wonderful things coming that I have to share, but I'll wait because this isn't about me at all. This is about Mr. McBride and the McBride Institute. You guys follow us, talk to us. We're here to help. It's plenty of room in the mental health space for all of us. So, any questions or concerns, feel free to reach out. Thank you guys for being here, and we will talk to you guys soon. Bye bye.